Dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome to quarterly webinar for Klaipėdos nafta. I am Simona Bačkienė, account manager at Nasdaq Vilnius, and I am pleased to introduce today's hosts, Chief Executive Officer of the company, Mr. Darius Šilenskis, and Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Jonas Lenkšas. Before we proceed with the presentation, I will shortly introduce you the agenda. Firstly, the management of the company will comment Klaipėdos nafta financial results of the first half of the year 2020. Right after the presentation, we will open the floor for questions. All questions will be addressed after the presentation. Mr. Darius Šilenskis, I invite you to start the presentation.
Thank you, Simona. Good morning to everyone. As Simona already mentioned, today's objective is to present to investors KN Group financial unaudited result for first half of the year 2020. So I would like to start. Why it's not switching? I would like to start shortly from the content of today's presentation. So we will present our mission and vision. We will reflect on the COVID-19 impact for our activities. Also highlights of the main events or key events during first half, during Q2 of 2020. And afterwards we will present financial results and investments overview. So as we are presenting during each webinar, we would like to also use the opportunity and to present again our mission and vision. And our mission is to ensure safe, reliable, and efficient access to global energy markets by sustainable development, investment, and operation of multifunctional terminals worldwide. And our aim is to assist our customers on clean energy transition and to maintain their competitiveness. Our vision is to become a top LNG terminals operator worldwide and the most competitive oil and refined products handling hub in the Baltic region. COVID-19 impact management measures which has been taken. So by the end of May, company has safely returned from work in remote mode to offices. The company still applies various preventive protection measures to ensure safety of groups and companies, employees, and continuity of business operations. During the peak of COVID-19, company participated in various initiatives, including the initiative of Klaipėdos port companies to provide lung ventilators and other important equipment for regional hospitals, which represents our corporate social responsibility in action. Company anticipates that COVID-19 will cause downturn in global economic growth, which will lead to a decrease of demand on global and regional scale, and it can possibly result lower transshipment volumes through the company's terminals in 2020 and correspondingly in 2021. Reacting to the changed environment, management of the company has activated various business continuity and risk mitigation plans for each our business segment, and the risk management team has been set up to monitor the situation of the group and the company and main partners on a daily basis. Taking into account the high liquidity of the groups and company, preventive measures taken, activated business continuity and risk mitigation plans. From a cash flow point of view, the group and the company are in a secure position to continue their business operations in front and for unfavorable situation. Talking about the key events and main highlights of Q2. So in April, Polish oil and gas company PGNG commenced their commercial operations at our operated Klaipėdos liquefied natural gas reloading station, as we are calling it internally, LNG small-scale terminal. The capacity substation, which will allow more efficient entry into the small-scale regional LNG market, is reserved for a strategic partner for 5 years, as it already has been mentioned. 10 of April 2020, extraordinary general meeting of shareholders adopted decision to elect Mr. Karolis Švaikauskas as a new member of the supervisory board of Klaipėdos Nafta until the end of the term of office of the existing supervisory board of Klaipėdos Nafta. On 28th of April, annual general meeting of shareholders of a company decided to distribute 100% of a company's financial profit received in 2019 and allocate dividends to the amount of 0.02 per share. During June, key events was as follows. On 4th of June, KN has completed the annual procedure of allocating LNG terminal capacities for the new gas year, which lasts from 1st of October till 13th of September each year. During this procedure, 2 customers have signed agreements for the regasification capacity of 8.4 terawatt hours of LNG, 68%, which is 68% more comparing to the previous year. And this is the first time when 2 customers participated in annual procedure of allocating LNG capacities for the new year. And signed regasification capacity is the highest one from the beginning of the terminal's activity. On 5th of June, we have received first in our operation history a US origin crude oil cargo, which was further diverted to our customer in Belarus. Mr. Andrius Varanavičius, member of the supervisory board and the audit committee of Klaipėdos Nafta, submitted a notice of resignation from the supervisory board and the audit committee of the company as of 31st of July. This is the last day of his mandate. Another important message was about the finalization of the court case with Krovinių terminalas, and this court has been closed. The Supreme Court of Lithuania did not accept the appeal submitted by Krovinių terminalas in this case regarding the alleged damages from the breach of a competition law. And the deadline for the appealing has expired on 1st of July. Therefore, the decision of the court remains final and uncontested. On 11th of June, PGNG received the first supply of LNG at the Klaipėda LNG reloading station, and Finland's Gazum was a supplier by delivering about 1,500 tons of LNG that originated in Norway. From there, it may be transported further by the road tankers or trucks from Klaipėda to consumers in the Baltic states and northeastern Poland. An increase of the authorized capital of the company by 29,000 euros has been registered on 9th of July, and the authorized capital has been increased by non-monetary item vessel Audra, and the purpose of that was to continue, let's say, initiatives to decrease OPEX by operating FSRU infrastructure in Klaipėda. So here I would like to pass stage microphone to Jonas.
Thank you, Darius, and good morning to everyone. So I will proceed with commenting financial results of first half of the year. And first, I would like to start from commenting Q2 results. So the second quarter of this year I would say is one of the best quarters in the last 2 years in terms of net profit, maybe slightly below the results of Q4 of previous year. So in the second quarter of this year, the group earned 20.7 million euros of revenues, and the sales revenues, as we can see, are lower than in previous year's quarters, and the main factor for the decrease is reduction of security supplement, which has been started from the beginning of this year. So the same reason for lower sales revenues are also for first quarter of this year. In terms of net profit in second quarter of this year, financial net profit amounts to 9.8 million euros and is more than 2 times higher than in respective quarters result in 2018. In terms of financial net profit, we can see a substantial fluctuation from quarter to quarter, and the main reason is currency exchange rate influence, which emerges due to IFRS 16 application, which has been started from 2019, 1st of January, and we can see it from the graph. So as euro appreciated against US dollar in the second quarter of this year, and therefore substantial positive impact to the net profit from currency exchange rate has been registered, and due to this reason, an adjusted net profit result, a normalized ratio calculated by the company in order to reflect real result, which could be also comparable with previous periods, is presented here and amounts to 4.3 million euros for the second quarter of this year. It is better than Q1 of 2020, lower than the last quarter of 2019, but still it's the best, second best quarter in the last 2 years. So going to first half of the year, so looking at sales revenues, the group earned 40.7 million of sales revenues against 51.2 in respective period of 2019. The main factor for the decrease, as was mentioned in the previous slide, was reduction of security supplement. Financial net profit for the first half of the year amounts to 9.4 million euros, while adjusted net profit 8.2 million euros, and these results are substantially better than results of first half of previous year. So the main factors for higher adjusted net profit in the first half of this year was due to increase in revenues from oil product storage, FSRU, lower FSRU OPEX expenses, and essentially better result of commercial LNG activities. The latter has been achieved due to entering into agreement with Polish state company PGNG regarding booking capacities of small-scale LNG terminal and income from international 1M project in Brazil. So in this slide we show main type of groups of influence which are using to calculate normalized net profit or adjusted net profit. So these 3 groups are reduction of security supplement, difference due IFRS 16 calculation method, and impact of euro-dollar exchange rate. The main highlight in this regard for this quarter and first half of this year is that it is the first reporting period when we are experiencing a positive impact of exchange rate. Just to remind, according to IFRS 16 requirement, all lease liabilities of the whole lease period, in our case, the main impact comes from FSRU lease, which is still 2024, are accounted in the balance sheet as liabilities. And as lease payments for FSRU are denominated in US dollars, euro-dollar exchange rate fluctuation creates positive or negative impact. However, it's worth mentioning that for the group, this is unrealized influence, as the company is compensated its costs related to regulated activity at the actual exchange rate. So going into segments, we group our activity into three segments: oil terminals, regulated LNG activity, and commercial LNG activity. We can see from here that in the first half of this year, oil terminals and regulated activity segments both bring almost the same input to the group's net profit result. And also we can see from this slide that the main impact of IFRS 16 is realized in regulated activity. This can be seen from the difference in EBITDA and net profit results. The substantial difference in EBITDA is due to lease payments that, according to IFRS 16, are accounted through depreciation expenses. And adjusted net profit of regulated activity is a little bit worse because of elimination of positive influence of euro-dollar exchange rate, which is not realized. So due to the distortion of real result by application of IFRS 16 and thus caused inability to compare results between two periods, going forward in the next slides we will speak about normalized, or in other words, adjusted results and ratios. So here I will pass the floor again to Darius to comment on main business factors.
Okay, so let's start from oil terminal segment. And as you can see in the slide, all the, let's say, data shows that both revenue and EBITDA was higher during first half of the year 2020 comparing with 2019, comparing to the respective result of 2019. And talking about the main business factors, it was full of challenges, of course, because we had not only COVID caused negative margins, refining margins, we also had unexpected warm winter season, which also is affecting, let's say, less demand from a market on oil products also. And in addition, discussion or negotiations between Russia and Belarus on crude supply has lasted almost entire first quarter of 2020, which let's say caused less volumes from this direction for transshipment in our oil terminals. And also OPEC plus format negotiations failed, meaning that oversupply of the crude, which was high, let's say the production was higher than a consumption, was one of the factors eroding refining margins and influencing, let's say, less potential throughput tons through our infrastructure. COVID, as in all businesses or most of the businesses, it's also affected our activities. and lockdowns caused significant decrease in globally, which has been reaching almost 30% drop on oil products demand. So this was also one of the criteria which influenced negative margins. So during this turbulent period, our oil terminal holds the leading positions comparing to other Baltic states terminals, demonstrating pretty high transshipment volumes, which is reflected in our first half of the year result. One more thing which I would like to add to the slide is that we accumulated quite a significant amount from such services as storage, which was not so usual before. So, and we also successfully exploited contango situation upsides and increased income from this. Okay, so let's talk about, next slide is about the regulated LNG activities. So as you can see here, we have less revenue, but this is mainly caused due to reduced supplement, and talking about EBITDA and net profit, both were higher comparing to respective period in 2019. Klaipėdos LNG terminal utilization rate in the second quarter averaged about 55% of the theoretic, so to say, maximum capacities, and total regasification during the second quarter was 5.84 terawatt hours, which were regasified and transmitted to the transmission system. Key reason of high utilization and high demand of LNG remains the same. Low LNG index values, and this period continues. On European gas exchanges, Dutch TTF average index for second quarter was 6.92 euros for megawatt hour, compared to an average 14.71 with the same period during the same period last year. Here you can see also the number of the tankers accepted for STS operations, and you can see also overall regasified volume during the first half of the year. Moving forward. Okay, so talking about the commercial or not regulated LNG activities, which includes small-scale LNG reloading station activity in Klaipėda, operation of LNG terminal in Port Açu, Brazil, and also on other projects, other LNG, global LNG development related projects. So we have generated almost 2.5 million euros in terms of revenues and 264,000 euros of EBITDA. Result in terms of net profit was negative, minus 403,000. But it's worth to say that it's first time in our, let's say, reporting when LNG activities generated positive EBITDA result, commercial activities. Key factors was KN, together with its subsidiary KNSU branch, we signed an operation O&M services agreement with GNA for the provision of operations and maintenance services. So this contract started to generate income for our group. And also, as it has been mentioned before, let's say, commercial activity of our strategic customer, which reserved 100% of the small-scale LNG capacities in Klaipėdos. So PGNG started real activities by using this infrastructure. So I think that was main messages from our business segments, and I'm giving microphone to Jonas.
Yes, I will proceed further on and give short comments on our financial ratios. So margin and efficiency ratios in the first half of this year are better ones than in the respective period of 2019. So as results of EBITDA and net profit are higher, thus the margin rates are accordingly higher too. As there were no major changes in assets and equity base, therefore return on equity and return on asset ratios are also substantially better. Accordingly, price earnings and profit per share ratios in this year are so far are more favorable than in previous year. Speaking about our structure of balance sheet, there are no major changes in the structure of assets and liabilities. After the application of IFRS 16, the major portion of the assets consist of right to lease property, which decreased due to depreciation, and right to lease property consists of FSRU independence lease liability till 2024 and purchase option of FSRU. On the other hand, on liabilities and equity side, the biggest portion also is lease liabilities of the same items, FSRU lease liabilities till 2024 and purchase option of FSRU. A small movement could be seen in loans balance. It has increased as company uses a loan facility to finance reduction of security supplement. And now we come to investments overview part, and a short comment will be given by Darius.
Thanks, Jonas. So as you can see, comparing to the previous periods, the amount of investments into capital projects was much lower comparing to previous periods. And main investments carried out this year consists, let's say, investments into so-called stage 2 of expansion of our oil terminal in Klaipėdos. And it was related with investments into storage tank parks, reconstruction of, and also reconstruction of jetties, which we use for loading and discharge of both oil and LNG tankers. So, and main investment, it's worth to underline that main investment, which is on progress also in our capex or capital projects pipeline in oil terminal for now, is investment into construction of a new railway trestle. So because it's only, let's say, first phases or beginning of this procurement, there was no significant amount invested during this period into this. Okay. So that's all. We can move to questions and answers.
Mr. Šilenskis, Mr. Lenkšas, thank you for your presentation. Now we will proceed with the questions. And the first question was received in advance, and it is the following. Which direction the company is heading to increase profitability, LNG or oil terminal transshipment?
I think our directions are pretty well described in our strategy document, where we are, let's say, focusing on a competitiveness or increase of competitiveness of our oil segment by, let's say, increasing efficiency of this infrastructure. We are using various tools for now. I can mention, let's say, one of those tools. We are implementing ISO process. We are now started to use lean methods in our activities, which already is giving a returns. So we can see a result for the first half of 2020. So I can say that yes, one of the let's say one success criteria was additional revenues from additional services and products which we were handling. But another important effect or positive effect was generated by cost savings, which came from our efficiency measures and improvement, so to say, of our operations measures. Talking about our LNG activities, so on a regulated activity or operations of FSRU infrastructure, so we are keeping the same direction and maintaining, let's say, pressure for the costs by controlling, let's say, OPEX, by investigating new opportunities, and one of those opportunities has been presented to investors. For example, this small but really valuable acquisition of vessel Audra or boat Audra in the long run will definitely generate additional returns and savings. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer. The next question received in advance is, when do you plan to buy out the LNG ship from Norway?
Thank you for the question. So the answer here shall consist of two parts. So first of all, it's very important to underline and to state that we are not buying ship from Norway, because it's just an option which is fixed in time charter party with the owner of FSRU Independence. So another part of the question is about the timing. So timing is that we can execute option till let's say end of 2024. And also it's worth to mention, by using opportunity, that we already started selection process of the FSRU vessel. We already started the procurement process of technical and legal consultants, and it's a beginning of let's say of this process. Thank you.
Thank you. Are oil cargos from Belarus permanent or temporary? Is it planned to supply LNG gas? If so, when?
Very good question. Thank you. So talking about the regularity of the crude cargos arriving through our infrastructure to Belarusian customers, As you can see, it already have, let's say, regularity behind as far as volumes are really sufficient during past half of a year. But you know, it's a question to our customers, probably not to us, because it's a lot of factors which are affecting decision to import through us or to supply crude by you know, alternative way, or buy it from the east. So it's a pricing, it's a probably also geopolitics behind. So it's hard to say or to confirm whether it's permanent, but seems to be that it becomes really important part of our oil business. And it's good to see that we are really competitive by providing this service, as far as about 60% of entire alternative crude to Belarusian oil refineries has been supplied by using our Klaipėdos oil terminal. Talking about the LNG supply to Belarusian side, I cannot comment here as far as you know, we are not let's say, having any agreements with nobody from Belarus on that. Thank you.
Thank you. In terms of interim dividends, what is the future dividend policy?
Okay, so I'll try to answer. We haven't yet considered such, let's say, such ability. So for now, I cannot confirm that it's under consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. In order to increase the return to investors, how is it planned to increase the liquidity of the stock?
Thank you. So I'll try to answer. Very good question, because we have this topic in agenda of the oncoming strategy session with our main shareholders and stakeholders, which will take place, which will be held end of August this year. But for now, I cannot comment. Let's say that we can have some let's say, actions or measures already confirmed to increase this, to increase liquidity of the stock. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We also received some more questions during the session. So the first is, could you please elaborate why KN doesn't hedge Forex risk, exactly USD risk?
So I will pass this question to Jonas, please.
Yes, thank you, Darius, and very good question, and the question we have regularly here. So at this time, I could comment that we are actively working on that, because we have to we have agreement with regulator, and hopefully by end of this year there may be changes in this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is, you are declaring strong oil and oil products transshipment volumes. Can you provide numbers illustrating this statement, please?
Actually, those numbers are publicly available for investors, and it was, let's say, presented in our consolidated interim report. Talking about strong, yes, I think, and we are sure that it's quite a strong position comparing to other terminals, oil terminals, marine oil terminals in Baltic states. we are maintaining first, or let's say first position in terms of transshipped volumes.
Follow-up question. You disclose LNG volumes, but why you don't disclose oil terminals volumes?
I think this question has been already answered. We are disclosing. As I said, it's included into consolidated interim report. Please check it.
Thank you. What was impact of oil products storage service on revenue and net profit? Could you please provide numbers?
Thank you for the question. Due to let's say PNC and confidentiality obligations against our customers, we cannot disclose the exact figures and numbers from this type of services. But I can just say that comparing to the same period of 2019, revenue from this activity was double. Yeah. Twice. We received twice as much as in 2019 from this activity.
Thank you. Please describe your current outlook and expectations for the second half of this year, oil transshipment volumes.
Thank you for the question. Of course, the situation caused by the coronavirus effect. I mean, the answer depends on assumptions whether we will have second wave or not of the COVID, and whether we will have even worse refining margins around. But we are, as a part of our mitigation actions and business continuity plan, we are making on a regular basis or updating on a regular basis our forecast for the remaining part of the year. And in terms of volumes, we don't see that it can go down or below, let's say, the pace which we were facing during first half of the year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It looks like we've covered all of our questions so far. We're still waiting for more questions to come in. If you haven't sent in your questions yet, please do so now. So all questions are answered. On behalf of Nasdaq Vilnius, thank you everyone. It was a pleasure being with you today. Record of the presentation will be available in the Nasdaq Baltic YouTube channel webinar playlist and on the website kn.lt. Mr. Darius Šilenskis and Mr. Jonas Lenkšas, thank you for the presentation and for answers given. Participants, thank you for joining. Everyone, have a good day.
Thank you, Simona. Have a good day.